Facebook Live. Oh no, it's never too late to bring out the clapper.
Yeah.
And we're got dust on it.
Facebook Live today, YouTube Live.
YouTube Live.
Yeah.
YouTube Live. Hey guys.
Woo!
YouTube Live. We've got some really important information. We talked about this on Facebook Live last week, but we really wanted to get the reach on this.
Yep.
Okay, just to let you guys know, you're going to probably hear some noise because my wife scheduled us to have new gutters put up, and they are putting the gutters up. So if it gets too loud, we may have to stop things. But anyway, we're here.
We are here.
Robbie Wheaton from WheatonArms.com. We really appreciate him being here. Gunsmith for over 20 years. Does a lot of custom gun work, but also has an incredible line of Wheaton Arms, Glock, aftermarket parts, barrels, triggers, you name it. And they're very in demand, and he's having a hard time getting everything, getting his raw materials and everything.
So we just finished up a big production run of Glock 19 threaded barrels, and we've got a production run of 19 standard barrels that are finishing up today. That'll be up on the website tomorrow. So, and for everybody that's waiting on colors for stuff, for the 19s, it's going to be about a week and a half, and we'll have all the colors up, but we do have stainless steel threaded 19 barrels up on the website right now for a little while longer until they sell out.
And these are not polygonal threaded. They are stainless steel, and you can shoot anything through them, and they're just great barrels. The trigger, his flat face trigger is the best on the market, period. So we really appreciate Robbie being here. He has a lot of experience. It's just great, especially with questions and things. But today we're going to be kind of sticking more toward gun control. And guys, if you have not been watching what's happening, it is on a massive scale. I do want to mention Sarah Mack over there on the computer. She is monitoring things. I don't know how we're going to do our questions today. We'll just see how that goes. But we just got a lot of information to cover, and live is the best way to do it. First thing I want to though is mention is USCCA. Guys, if you don't have legal protection, some kind of legal protection, if you're carrying a firearm or depending on a firearm for self-defense, it could be in your home, you really need some kind of legal protection. And USCCA, I've been a member for the past 4 years, and it's just peace of mind. And so they'll have an affiliate link down below in the description. You can click on it, you can go straight to it. It does help support us. But with YouTube's games, and two, guys, we're kind of concerned that this won't be interrupted because of the nature. I know Mike at Guns and Gear talked about this exact same thing, and his video was just taken down, and there was no anything. It was just taken down, and he even appealed it. So there's a lot of people trying to get the word out, but we're being censored on a level that we've never been censored.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Getting out and shooting and all that, they can say, oh, it's guns, but this is legitimate information that we took directly from the Biden campaign website. Directly. In fact, we've got the link in the description. You can click on it. It'll take you to the gun safety section, and you can read these for yourself. But we really felt like that it was so important and so vital to get this information out. I know a lot of you have already voted, but it doesn't matter. There's a lot of people that still haven't voted.
That's right.
And so we really feel like this is and then there's two parts to this, though.
Yeah.
The first part I want to talk about is what the ATF is doing right now. Guys, if you have a AR pistol, AK pistol, whatever, Streebog, a CZ Evo 3, whatever.
Any pistol with a brace on it.
Any pistol, and I've got some sitting over in the corner. Yeah. I can't touch them on live. Yeah. They'll shut everything down. We're getting ready to possibly face those being deemed as any other weapon, which the big thing is you've got to register every one of your guns.
Well, and the even bigger thing to me is being able to travel with those firearms,
right? Because
it is an AOW. Now, for you to take it out of your state, you have to request permission from the ATF, wait for approval to come back before you can take that AOW out of state, just like with a SBR or an SBS. And that's been for me, one of the big benefits of being able to have a pistol is you can travel interstate with a pistol and not be restricted and have your rights restricted like you do with a SBR or SBS or the AOW.
But the big thing is, guys, is this going to be a registered firearm, and the ATF is going to have that registration and have you've got to go through the same thing you would do if you were going to buy a full auto machine gun. Same kind of process.
That's right.
Suppressor. To have your AR pistol, it's going to do that. And a lot of people are asking because they're like, well, the ATF, well, Trump should, why is he letting that happen? Trump has actually signed an executive order telling ATF to stop. and they won't. They've snubbed their nose at it. And so the ATF is rogue right now. And they started out with the Q, the honey badger. Now they're going after all with an AWL.
All means
all pistol braces to make them into this AOW or the any other weapon.
That's right.
Now, here's the thing. They're probably not going to be able to do anything right now about it, but they're really looks like they're holding off to wait for Biden to get in. So, because I'm going to tell you guys, a nightmare for the Second Amendment. It's pretty much going to end a lot of the Second Amendment with what they're talking about.
It would take us back over 100 years.
Well, the other thing is now if you want to take your pistol and say, okay, you know what, if I'm going to do that, I might as well make it into a short barrel rifle. But now they're messing with that, making it harder to make them SBRs because you can't have a third party. Before, you could have a third party come in and they could fill out the paperwork for you because they know the information and it's easier for them. It's easier for the ATF, but they're like, nope, you got to do it yourself. And so there's a lot of stuff. If you're not following Jared over at Guns and Gadgets, that's a great YouTube channel. He puts out a lot of information about this. And so it's very important right now to be informed. But what's the most important is for you to call your congressman, call your senators, get in touch with the White House. I mean, they're fighting against it. The White House is. And this is one thing I think that's kind of what's going on with this, with the ATF. I think they feel like that people are going to associate the ATF with Trump. And so, Trump, he did the bump stocks, now he's doing this. Okay, yeah, I know, and that's true. And nobody likes that. Well, some people don't give a crap, but nobody really likes what's going on. There's some things about the bump stock thing that was just not good. But here's the thing, guys: we've got Trump, and then right now we have Biden. We have two choices. Now you have you can vote whatever you want to, but there's only really two choices.
That's right. There's really only two that are going to be elected. It's going to be one or the other. And
we've got to decide. We've got to make a decision. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the Biden initiatives that he has here on his website. You can go again right there to it.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, this is right off of his campaign website.
Yes, right off the joebiden.com/gunsafety// That's where we're getting it. Okay. First thing is, Biden wants to end the gun pandemic, the violence pandemic or epidemic. And he wants to first hold all gun manufacturers accountable. So if I'm some thug, I go into a store, I use it, I end up shooting a couple of people, and I have a Glock. Now those people can actually sue Glock. Glock had nothing to do with it. Glock's staying within the law. They're doing everything they want now. And so
that doesn't matter whether this person stole this gun from someone, or no matter how he acquired that gun, they're still going to hold the firearms manufacturer liable, no matter how this person acquired this firearm, whether it was through a legal or illegal means.
Now, originally, they've had protection. Congress passed a law a few years ago giving gun manufacturers a protection from that. But there was one of the justices, I think it was Roberts, came up and said, no, that's not really constitutional. So there's already been some play with that already. Okay, now we've got a lot of stuff to cover. So we're not going to get into a lot of detail. Again, you can go to the website, but I think you're going to get the picture real quick. Also, assault weapons ban. That's coming. If Biden gets in, he's going to push for it. And if they retain the House and the Senate, or they get a majority anywhere, it's going to go across his desk. Now, the one thing that they talk about in that, because Biden was the one that pushed the first assault weapons ban.
That's right, back in 1994.
But he said,
a lot of people called it the Clinton crime ban, but what it was a ban severely limiting the importation of firearms, and then as well as limiting what firearms could be produced in the United States and features that those firearms had or could have.
Yeah, threaded barrel with a flash hider, a bayonet lug, a collapsible stock,
pistol grip.
Right.
Yep.
Well, you could have one of so. But here's the thing, and this is what it says on the website. He said, we've learned our lesson from the first assault weapons ban. We're going to cut out all those loopholes. They're going to cut them all out. So first off, assault weapons ban. And I say assault weapon because that's what it's called. We know it's not an assault
These
weapon.
Are semi-automatic firearms.
Sporting firearms. Okay, secondly, after the assault weapons ban, there's actually a high-capacity magazine ban, which that was the same before. Also, now this is a big one. This is a new one. Is they want to regulate all your AR-15s. If you own an AR-15, you can keep it, but you've got to go through the NFA. You got to get you got to fill out all the paperwork. You got to register it with the ATF. You got to have an extensive background check.
And this is the same registration as registering a machine gun. So you're going to pay a $200 tax stamp for every AR you own. You're going to file the paperwork on either, I'm guessing a Form 1 is how they would allow you to do that.
They'll probably figure all that out.
You'd register it on a Form 1. You'd pay $200 per AR-15 that you own. And then you're going to wait anywhere from 8 to 12 months. And with the entire United States registering, you could be waiting 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you've got an AR-15 that you can't use. You can't even really. You're not supposed to assemble.
That's right.
A lot of things.
Yep.
It's just a giant mess.
Yeah.
Okay, but not only your AR-15s or AKs or any kind of semi-automatic that has the detachable magazine.
Mm-hmm.
All your magazines, every one of your magazines will have to be registered with the ATF.
That's right.
Every one, and you got to pay a tax stamp, which will probably be $5.
It could be an AOW tax stamp, or it could be a short-barreled rifle tax stamp, and no different than a silencer.
Yeah.
You know, a silencer is not a firearm; it's just a muffler for your gun. Magazines are the same way. They could absolutely classify magazines as something very similar to a silencer and require you to pay a $200 tax stamp for every magazine you own.
Right. Okay. Now those are big. Those are already big, and we could go into some details, but obviously they haven't even talked about this in law. This is just his proposal.
Yep.
Also, of course, having a buyback program, which I
Mm-hmm.
love that because I never bought it from them in the first place. So I don't know how they're going to buy it back, which will cost the taxpayers billions
or trillions
of dollars, which is absolutely stupid. Stockpiling weapons. That's another one that he's blasting. Limiting one firearm purchase per month. One firearm purchase per month. National background checks. You have to have a background check for every firearm that you purchase. So let's say Robbie wants to sell me a gun. We've got to go. He and I have to go up to the gun shop, pay them a fee, a transfer fee, because they're working. I mean, it's legitimate.
And here's the thing, dude. The BATFE they have been slowly trying to implement this over the last 5 years, 6 years. When you call a gun in for a transfer, you have to tell them what kind of transfer it is. If it's a dealer to dealer, or a dealer to individual sale, or individual to individual sale. That's one of the questions that they're asking. And they are strongly encouraging gun dealers to encourage their customers, any transfer that they make, and this has been going on for several years now, any transfer that they make, to conduct that transfer through a dealer and have that firearm transferred from an individual to another individual. Now, it's not regulatory yet, but they have been strongly encouraging their dealers to do that for several years now.
Well, and they've changed the form.
Yes, the Form 4473 has been significantly changed over how it's been worded and written in the past.
Now they have the gun. Before, it was like you filled out your information, you turned the page, you signed it, and then the dealer would put in what gun it was.
Yep.
Now they want the gun right up front and center. So that way they can go through and they can get those numbers. And that's what a lot of people are assuming with this, which to me definitely makes sense. And that's all gun sales again. That's private gun sales. It's whatever.
Yep.
Okay, there's mental restrictions. And these are people, according to the Social Security Administration, that have been deemed not mentally unfit, or it could be somebody with that's a vet.
Any sort of psychological issue.
Yeah, any kind of vet that comes back with
or
PTSD,
depression or whatever. Yes.
It could be they're not able to take care of their personal finances. So let's say my dad's 80 years old. So we do a lot. We have power of attorney. That may mean that they can't own a firearm just because we're handling their finances.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing about all this is, guys, especially some of these on down, is that it can be interpreted loosely. And a lot of things, these can be abused.
Yep.
Okay. Extend background checks. So right now you put a NICS check in, you have 3 days. If you don't get an answer, you can go ahead and give them the gun.
That's right.
Dealer can. They're wanting to extend that to 10 days.
When, from my understanding as well, with all of the background checks that they're going to, with the national background check, that will nullify your concealed weapons permit as far as being able to use that to purchase a firearm to where you don't have to do the background check. So that's one of the things that I've saw with this as well. Any state that has a concealed weapons permit, like South Carolina, and allows that concealed weapons permit to be used in lieu of your firearm being called in to the FBI for a background check, that's going to go away.
Right.
Because now it's going to take 10 days for the extended background check, which nullifies that concealed weapons permit being used as a tool for verifying that you can legally own a firearm.
Right. Even though we've been through the paperwork, we've had our fingerprints, we've got all that stuff on file. End all online sales of guns, ammunition, gun parts, gun kits, anything to do with guns. You're going to have to go through a dealer.
Yep. So basically what that means is dealers or manufacturers like me that sell parts and accessories to consumers like you, I'll be put out of business. So I will not be allowed to advertise my parts, sell my parts online. You won't be able to buy my parts online. I will have to find a dealer to ship my parts to that's local to you, and that you'll have to go into that dealer and buy those parts from that dealer. I won't be able to sell parts online anymore.
Right. We can't have that.
No, we certainly cannot.
A big one. And some that have actually accused Trump of doing, which there was some talk about it, but nothing ever happened, but red flag laws.
Yep.
Biden is all behind red flag laws. He wants to push it, and those can be extremely abused.
Yeah. Look at Virginia right now as a prime example for a state that has had just tremendous, it's been a very conservative state over the years for the last several hundred years. In the last few years, it's kind of went Democrat. And now that state has just had tremendous restrictions placed on their Second Amendment rights with all the red flag laws that have been implemented. And a lot of that has been done, county by county, city by city, parish by parish. And it's continually getting worse. If you follow VCDL, Virginia Citizens Defense League, every week they're posting stuff online about more and more restrictions being placed on them. And a lot of that falls right in line with these red flag laws in their state.
Right.
And this is wanting to take it from a state level and move it from a state level to a national level with these red flag laws.
One of the things about Virginia, because we went to the rally up there, it was incredible. I mean, it was a huge mass of people up there. And Northam, of course, just ignored that and went ahead and tried to do as much as he could. But here's the real core of the problem, is when Northam was elected, it was an off year, and they had a low voter turnout.
That's right.
Guys, the right to vote is one of your most important rights, if not the most important. The most important. If you're not, I mean, if you haven't already registered, you're probably already sunk anyway. But guys, you've got to get your vote out. You've got to stand. And a lot of people are like, well, my vote don't count. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And you got to make sure that you vote. Okay.
More so now than ever.
Yes. Okay. Now, one thing that he's looking at too is online harassment or extremism. If you're exhibiting and what they classify is harassment,
or
just like on YouTube, or extremism, what they classify that can take away your rights to own firearms. And two, he's talking about building up law enforcement agencies to be able to go and really enforce gun law.
And this is federal law enforcement, not state.
But and then he's going to give money, raise money for individual states, counties, cities to be able to enforce gun laws.
Wow.
So that's another thing that's on his agenda. Also, one thing he's wanting to do is the smart gun mandate, which is 100% smart gun technology is all that can be used. And that's one of the things, just like his Green Deal and everything else he's wanting to do. Gun storage mandate. Now, I want to say something about that. I have a buddy of mine who lives in Connecticut. Years ago, he had a safe down in his basement. And he said, I just hadn't been down there in a couple of weeks. He goes, we'd go down there here and there. He goes, I went down and I looked and the safe was broken into. Somebody had broken into it, stolen his guns. So immediately, according to Connecticut state law, you have 24 hours, 48 hours. It's just a real short period. I think it's 48 hours to get in touch and report that with law enforcement. So he did. He immediately called state law enforcement. They came out, they looked at it, they wrote the report out, they left. The next day they came and they arrested him because he told them, he goes, it's probably been a couple of weeks since we've been down there. They arrested him. He said it cost him $20,000 to stay out of jail, and he lost all these guns. These things can be, not only are they bad enough, but they can be abused.
Yes.
And so, that's one thing. And
I'll tell you what, that smart gun mandate, if you don't go on Joe Biden's campaign page and read anything else on his page and you're a gun owner, you should absolutely go on there and read this gun storage mandate that he has. It is absolutely draconian.
Yeah.
If you own firearms and you have people over at your house, all right, your neighbor can pick up the phone and call the police and tell them that you have people at your house and you have guns in your house, and he doesn't think you have your guns stored properly, and you're going to get a visit by the police, and you could be arrested. And if you don't have your guns stored properly according to their rules and regulations, you'll be arrested. I mean, it is absolutely insane.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break here. We're good. Everybody's watching. Nobody's asking questions. If you guys have some questions, you're more than happy to. You don't have to mess about it. Listen, if you're not for guns, that's your deal. And my YouTube channel is all about gun reviews. It's been that way for 12 years. So, guys, if there are people in there causing problems, just give them your peace of mind as well. If you own a gun and you're seeing that, Sarah Mac's just over here going, you know, and if you're for gun control, then you're for slavery. Here's the thing about guns. Guns give us the right for self-defense. It keeps us from being the victim. If I'm here in my home and somebody breaks down the front door, which I just watched a video that happened in Miami, where these guys busted in and they held guns on. The woman just happened to be in her bathroom and came out, grabbed a gun, and actually started defending herself. But you are at the mercy of whatever thugs and criminals. Here's the other part of it. We're talking about defunding the police. We're talking about cutting their budgets. Look, we had a break-in here 5 years ago, and it took the police 40 minutes to get to the house. Robbie had somebody breaking into his car one night. It took, what, an hour?
47 minutes.
47 minutes. So there's a lot that can happen in 47 minutes, guys. A lot. And so if you don't, you know, you can have a voice, and we've got the First Amendment. But I'll tell you what, the Second Amendment's right there with it. And if you want to keep your First Amendment rights, you better allow for the Second Amendment to stay in place, because that's what's happening. Yes.
Josh Pieper asked, why doesn't Palmetto State Armory make the MP5 yet?
Because it's somewhat complicated to make. They want to make sure that they do it right. They've been working on it. They just haven't gotten it to where they want to offer it to market. To be honest with you, with their AK line, they said it is a lot of labor to build those things. So that's one reason why it takes a while to get even those rifles out. But they're working on it. But you know, they want to get it right.
Gates Jr. Reloading asked, what about ammunition limits? Anything about only certain amounts of ammunition?
Now, there could have been. But when I was looking through the page, I didn't necessarily see anything. But I promise you, they're looking at California. That's what they're looking at. They're looking at a lot of the California gun laws that Biden wants to promote. They've got a team that is looking into every aspect of the gun community, and they are analyzing it. And these are where these laws are coming from. Before, they didn't have that kind of resource. That's right. But now they do.
Scott Huey asked, did you say anything about this, about the Streebog would fall under the AOW SBR law?
Yes, the Streebog would, as long as it had a brace on it.
That's right.
Now, here's the other thing. The ATF has just done this. They have stopped the importation of those type pistols. The CZ Evo 3, the Streebog, the MP5, your Zenith ZPK, ZP whatever 5. I've got one. I can't even tell what it is. But any of those type firearms are now, at this point, right now, are not allowed to be imported. And Trump has signed an executive order, and they are snubbing their nose at it. Guys, we have got to get really direct and get in touch with our Congress and our senators.
Gates Jr. Reloading also asked, what about reloading your ammo?
There's nothing specifically about this.
Yeah.
But, you know, here's the thing. These are his proposals. These are what he would sign into law tomorrow. So now getting that through Congress and Senate and going through all the things, you know, we're just going to have to see. But I can tell you, if they get this passed, more is coming. You know, more is coming.
Yeah, this is just the tip of the sword.
If they can start getting these passed, they will continue to do whatever. And ammunition is definitely a big one. It's been a hot button for them anyway.
Well, at the end of the day, a firearm is just a piece of wood and steel and plastic without ammunition.
Right, exactly.
Steve Lee asks, will they mandate ammo going to an FFL?
That falls back to they're going to end online sales of guns, ammo, gun parts, and gun part kits. So yes, ammunition, just like parts and accessories, everything will have to be sold through a brick and mortar dealer only.
Yeah, and so just like with California, you have to have a background check to pick up ammunition.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of those horror stories where people are just sitting there waiting days just to get a box of ammunition so they can go to the range.
That's right.
So that would, I mean, and he even states a lot of the California laws which are causing a huge disaster there. I don't get it. Yeah.
Robin Brogg asked, "Hey Such, I have an AK pistol. I don't want to pay a tax stamp and I don't want to be a felon. Should I sell it or destroy it?"
Well, you can take the brace off.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it doesn't. And here's the thing, guys. This isn't law yet.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't law. And I can tell you right now, if Trump wins the election, because here's the ace in the hole that we have. Trump originally, you know, he didn't know. I mean, he's a gun. He had a concealed carry permit. He carried a gun. But his son, Don Jr., is a gun fanatic, and I think that's a big part of what's turned Donald Trump Sr. into more of a Second Amendment supporter, because I think he's getting that. You know, what's gone on in the past is gone on in the past, but I think it's really turning his head. Is Donald Trump perfect? No, but compared to Biden, he's pretty close.
Well, and there's absolutely nothing on Trump's website that says, "Yeah, I'm going to do any of this stuff."
Well, he sat there at the NRA conventions, one of the first to actually speak.
Mm-hmm.
The first he spoke, I think Reagan may have spoke, but anyway, he has spoke at the NRA convention over and over and over, and says, "I will defend your Second Amendment." Yeah, I know about the bump stocks, but okay, bump stocks or this. I mean, you know, what are we going to do? Oh no, he voted for bump stocks. I'm not voting for that bullshit. Come on, people, are you serious?
And here's the thing. He never signed any kind of executive order about bump stocks. That was a ruling by the BATFE, and that is still under litigation.
Yeah, it is.
So
now, he did support it. I'm not going to give him an out.
No,
because he did, and I was really pissed about it. I was very pissed because that should not have happened. But here's the thing, guys. It's what I said last week. We've got two choices, and you may not like either choice, but you got to look. What am I going to stand for? What are my core values? This is not a high school
popularity contest.
Yeah, this isn't a class president popularity contest. There are real world consequences to allowing either one of these men in office.
That's right.
Whatever side you stand on. Yeah.
Hawaiian asked, "Do you think it is still an issue of striker drag in the SIG P365 now, or does it really matter, you think? Thanks, you guys, for hanging in there."
Yeah.
That's not something that I've seen in probably the last. It's been at least a year and a half or 2 years since I've had one even come through the shop that had any kind of striker drag.
Yeah.
So I would say that it has, if it hasn't been completely eliminated, it's been eliminated to the point that it's not causing parts failure anymore.
Yeah, and the one I have, we've put 2,500 rounds without one malfunction.
Yep.
2,500, and I got one of the early ones.
You did.
And Robbie's been there right with me, and we have shot the fire. I put it away for a while.
Yeah.
I wouldn't carry it for a while.
You wouldn't carry it for, it was probably close to a year.
And we had 1,500 rounds through it then.
That's right.
But I talked to Tim at Military Arms, and I was kind of like, I don't know. I honestly, I feel like the SIG has worked out all those details.
WV Minuteman says, "But a ban on certain type of ammunition, for an example, FMJ, hollow points, or buckshot?"
Well, there's just nothing there yet. There is the ammunition, and that does concern me that we have to buy our ammunition online through a dealer. They could very easily put a licensing through that to where you have to have background checks, where you have to have all these things. Even the gun parts, they could even put things on that. So, and this is all speculation, guys. And again, this is not law. This is his proposal.
These are his proposals. If he gets elected, the things that he wants to make law in this country.
Just tell him the link for all of those.
Yes, the link is down below in the description. You can go straight to the page, and it's not a hard read. I mean, it's a lot of information, but buddy, you can just read right through it.
I tell you, I encourage every person that's watching today to go to the link for Joe Biden's campaign page and read through not just the gun stuff, but everything that he has on his page. If you want to see a true Twilight Zone horror story, just read it from beginning to end. It will shock you, absolutely shock you.
But here's the thing, guys. We're a Second Amendment channel. This is about the Second Amendment, so we don't want to get into those things. But you need to really know who you're voting for, regardless.
Kawana Mons asked, "What about 80% lowers?"
Yes, ghost guns are on the list. In fact, that was at the bottom. Stock ghost guns. So any kind of 80%, anything like that.
That's right.
And that's a big high priority for them. I'm surprised they put it at the bottom. But yeah, that's a definite.
They hid it at the bottom. They didn't think people would read that far.
Yeah. Wow. That made me say, and guys, this is not all of it.
No.
I mean, I went through this list like that, but
There's more.
There's a lot of, and there's a lot of stuff that's in there that could be kind of, and I didn't want to bring it up because it's kind of like it could be used and abused, but whatever. Yeah.
Captain Spire says, Such, been a fan of the 20 gauge pump action 4-round rifles. Is it better to have a simple tried and true rifle over a semi-auto with a drum?
When you get to drums, they can be finicky.
Yeah.
But
I tell you, I'm a big fan of both. You know, I like a pump shotgun because of its reliability, its durability, and generally there's less parts in that gun that can break versus a semi-automatic, with the exception of the Benellis. Right. The Benellis have probably fewer moving parts than any other shotgun out there and are very reliable, but they're more expensive. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword. But the, you know, the pump is hard to beat. You know, a 4-round pump shotgun, it's, as long as you don't short stroke it, it's generally gonna work and work very well and very reliably.
Yeah, the one problem is sometimes when you're shooting shells is they want to stick out there. I mean, we've seen it a number of times with the semi-automatics. With the pump, you are the action. That's right. So you can just rack that.
The more aggressive you rack the action, the further the shell's gonna go.
But I'll tell you, semi-automatic's nice to be able to go boom, 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 boom. It is. Well, it's like boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're good to go with both. If you have one thing I would highly recommend though, if you want to get a semi-automatic, is find the rounds that really function the best for that rifle, for that shotgun. And there's certain ones that typically
work a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah. All based on the crimp. Some shotgun shells have a tighter crimp, some have a looser crimp, some have a little flare on the crimp, and all of those can affect functionality and reliability with a semi-automatic or a pump shotgun.
Yes, ma'am.
Question: if they implement the smart gun laws, will the law enforcement and Secret Service guarding Biden have to abide by these same rules? Will Biden be arrested if their firearms aren't stored?
That ain't gonna happen.
No.
I mean, you look at all the stuff he's been doing already, and he ain't got arrested.
You already know. You know the answer to that question before you ask it.
But yeah, that's that's the kind of hypocrisy.
That's right.
Honestly. And what, the military going to go to that too? Yeah. I mean, where are you going to stop with that?
That's right.
It's just a way to infringe. And here's the thing, guys, a lot of times they don't have to, they can pass the law and they don't have to really enforce it.
Yeah.
But if you have a fire at your house and the firemen come out, the first responders, and they see some guns laid out and then they take them and the ATF comes in, that's how they get you. Or, or if you have some kind of situation at your
burglary or things like that.
Hurricane come through.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mike Watkins asks, when do we find out if the pistol braces will be law?
Honestly, I feel like that. Honestly, this is what I really feel. I'm just going to tell you how I really feel. I think that what the ATF is doing is they're wanting to cast some shade on Trump because people think, oh, Trump's all in charge of the ATF. Trump's doing this. Trump's pushing this. Here's the thing about the ATF, guys, and this is one of the things that Trump was big about draining the swamp, is that a lot of all these people that are in the ATF were appointed by Obama. Or Clinton, well, for that matter, even George W. But these people were appointed. Now, Trump's has gotten rid of a lot of people, just like right now with the FBI. That the head of the FBI, he's a pain in the butt, and Trump's having to deal with it. Trump,
there is no head of the BATFE right now. There's some acting heads, but there is no appointed head of the BATFE right now.
And so these people I never liked bump stocks anyway, or not bump stock. Well, they didn't like that either. Yeah. But I don't really like pistol braces anyway. I thought they all should be illegal. And that's what they're doing. Now they're acting on their. Here's the thing, guys. We live in rule of law. And if it is not laid out specifically that it's against the law, it's legal. That's the reason why braces could even be used in the first place.
That's right.
There's no law. It's not a stock. It's a brace. They approved it, just like with the bump stocks.
Yep. At this point, it's not even a ruling yet, but it's a pending ruling.
Right.
To be law, it will have to go through the House and through the Senate and be signed into law.
Or what could happen is if they say, well, the braces are, whatever. Then what happens is someone gets arrested for it, and then they take them to court, and then the courts decide. So, this could go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Could.
And then it could get turned down. Thank goodness we've got Amy Coney Barrett just got in. Okay.
And it could take years.
It could take years.
Brandon C. says, is it hard to register an SBR? I'm a disabled vet and think a brace for my Glock would help me.
It's not hard to register an SBR. The difficult part right now is just the waiting period. It takes If you're doing a Form 1 and register an SBR, you can have it back in as little as 2 weeks, or it could take as much as 12 months or longer. And there's no real arbitrary reason why it processes faster or slower for certain people. So the hardest part is just filling out the paperwork and then the waiting period for the approval to come back for the SBR.
Right.
So, and then you do have to get, once you get approval back, and you can install the stock on it for an SBR, then you have to have that firearm engraved with your name, your city, and your state, with you being the manufacturer of that SBR.
James Williams asked, why did they not bring up gun control in the debates?
Because the moderators are the ones that are controlling it.
The questions,
and they
that's right.
are all leaning left.
Yep.
They may not be totally left. Mike Wallace, or is it Mike Wallace?
Mm-hmm.
He is, he's Fox
Chris
News.
Wallace.
Chris Wallace. He's all this, but he's always leaning toward the left. Yeah, they don't want to bring that up.
No.
Jonathan Weeks says, how do they even propose any of this working? Let's say they did a buyback. Look at how many guns are out there.
Mm-hmm.
How would they even start to fund that? Better yet, how do they propose enforcing?
Right.
Well, they just want to make us into sheep. They want to make us cower. They want to make us hide our stuff. And like James Yeager said, he goes, when you think it's time to bury your guns, it's really time to pull them out.
And here's the thing, you're thinking about a gun buyback program that they're going to pay you the actual value of that firearm. They could do a gun buyback program and say, we're going to give you $1 for it, or you're going to be a felon if you don't give it to us.
Right.
So.
Zip Loco asks, does Amy Coney Barrett election to Supreme Court help the Second Amendment?
Definitely. Hugely. She is a huge supporter of the Second Amendment. That is one of the best things. That's been great news this week.
Yeah, it really has.
And she's very traditional American family and all that. So
constitutionally minded.
Yeah, she's constitutionally minded. Yep. So that's been a big plus for us. And so, yes, that is the good news.
Yeah,
that's the great news.
Well, that's the thing that we love to see in the Supreme Court are people that are for the Constitution.
Right.
They don't interpret the Constitution. They read the Constitution based off of the words and the way that it's written. It's not an interpretive document. It is a document that is meant to be read and used in the language that it's written.
Right.
And that's one thing that I really like about her is she is a true constitutionalist.
Which they all should be.
They should.
Because
Absolutely.
They take a vow, they take an oath
Yep.
to uphold the Constitution. And the sad thing is we've got congressmen and senators
Mm-hmm.
that have taken that oath
Yep.
and are really liable because they have broken their oath.
Michael Wilson asked, so what do we need to say to our reps? What's the name of this so that we can be specific?
It's. And I believe he's talking about the
ATF,
the arm brace thing.
The arm brace thing is really where you're going to have to take action. They can't do anything about this at this point. Let me recommend, and I probably should have put this in, but go to Jared's channel at Mr. Guns and Gadgets, or just Guns and Gadgets.
Yeah.
Mr. Guns and Gear. Guns and Gadgets, and it's Guns A&D Gadgets. And he just did a video on this, on the braces, and he actually gives you, your senator, congressman. What you do is you get in touch with them and say, the ATF is overreaching their bounds with this brace thing. They need to stop. They need to put a stop on it now. The funny thing is Jared has gotten this information out even before Gun Owners of America or NRA has gotten the information out. So, and Tim at Military Arms Channel, he's doing a lot about it, and I'm sure Mike at Guns and Gear.
Yeah, Tim was actually the first person that I saw post something about it yesterday afternoon.
So check out Tim at Military Arms Channel, and you can get some information. But guys, send a letter, call them, whatever you need to do. But just take action, because we are really getting ready to lose a lot of our freedom with this. And it's just going to be encumbering.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I tell you, we're talking about senators and congressmen. I think it'd be a great time for us to talk about our Senate vote here in South Carolina. We've got Lindsey Graham is running for Senate again, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, Lindsey Graham. Listen, all right. He's running against Jamie Harrison, all right? And Jamie Harrison has spent a metric ton of other people's money in this state.
Including Hillary Clinton and Pelosi.
Yeah. Really trying to discredit Lindsey Graham. All right, listen, Lindsey Graham is, in the last 4 years, has been a tremendous asset for the Second Amendment. He was not a Trump supporter in the beginning. And I think there's a lot of people that were Republicans that were not Trump supporters in the beginning. And I think the reason for that is they just didn't know what to expect with him. They didn't know what kind of president he was going to be. Was he going to be a very liberal president, a very conservative president? Yeah, there were just a lot of unknowns because he never served in office. So people didn't know what to think. But in the last 4 years, Lindsey has become a huge supporter of Donald Trump because Donald Trump has been a great supporter of the United States and the Constitution. So we've got Jamie Harrison running against Lindsey Graham in this state. And one of the big things that I've seen lately has been these commercials talking about Dr. Bill Bledsoe, who was also running under the Constitutional Party for the Senate vote. And the reason that Jamie Harrison has been talking about all of this and really pushing all of these commercials for Dr. Bill Bledsoe is trying to split the vote,
right,
and take a lot of the conservatives' vote away from Lindsey Graham, a lot of people that are maybe on the fence about who to vote for, and pushing those votes toward Dr. Bill Bledsoe. Here's the thing that Jamie Harrison's ads are not telling you. Dr. Bill Bledsoe dropped out of the Senate race on October the 1st and endorsed his support for Lindsey Graham. October the 1st of this year, endorsed his support for Lindsey Graham. Now, he's still on the ticket because it was too late in the campaign for him to be removed from the ticket. So he's still going to show up on the ticket, even though he is not running for the Senate seat anymore. So you've got Jamie Harrison that's trying to split the vote in South Carolina by encouraging people to vote for someone that is not even running for that seat anymore.
Well, also, one thing about this whole deal, Lindsey Graham is chairman of the Armed Services Appropriations Committee. If he loses the Senate race,
he's also the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, which controls finance for the United States and where money is appropriated.
But do you know who's going to take his place?
I do.
Bernie Sanders.
That's right.
Can you imagine? Bernie. Okay, so now most of you don't live in South Carolina. Most of you don't even, it's like. But here's the thing: there are races like that between Republicans and senators.
Yes.
That it could really cause some more catastrophic problems than not.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the number one senior person on the Senate Budget Committee and the number two senior person on the Senate Budget Committee. One is Lindsey Graham, and he holds that seat right now. The number two person is Bernie Sanders.
Right.
So if Lindsey Graham's not elected, Bernie Sanders is going to be the leader of the Senate Budget Committee, which controls finance and where money goes throughout the United States.
So these elections affect us all, even in other states.
That's right.
They affect us all.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge trickle-down effect. And there's other elections in other states that are the exact same way. That you really, you've got a week to really look at these things and look at and see what the long-term lasting effect is going to be, not just for your state, but for your country. If this person, if somebody like a Lindsey Graham is not elected.
Now, one thing I really encourage you to do is, the NRA always puts out a list of people and they grade them. So it's a report card. Regardless of what you think about the NRA, that is one thing they do that's really big. So if you have some doubts about it, you can go and you can put your state in and you can find out where your people stand. And it goes all the way down. It'll do even some of the state representatives. So make sure you check that out. You have anything?
Mark G asks, would this apply to the CCA MCK?
That would be the Glock pistol. Yes, the CCA, where you insert. Yeah, if it has a brace on it, a brace, it's gone. Now, of course, if it has a stock on it, you have to register it as an SBR. But yes, that would anything with a brace, anything is going to be, because here's the thing: if it converts into a rifle, it has to have at least a 16-inch barrel. So anything short of that is a short barrel rifle. And so if they deem these some kind of the brace as any other weapon, then you're going to fall into that because it has a shorter than a rifle length barrel.
Question: what parts would be sold for maintenance if an assault weapons ban was put in place? What parts could you not get? Thank you.
You won't be able to get any parts online. Yeah. All parts online will be banned from ordering. Anything that you get is going to have to be purchased directly from a brick and mortar local dealer that you walk into their store and buy it.
Now, for us, we have a local Pampa State Armory that we can walk into and get every little spring and pin.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, that is not what we want, because I like repair kits. Sometimes, your springs wear out. Sometimes your firing pin breaks. If your firing pin breaks, You can't order it online.
That's right.
You got to figure out. Now, you may have your dealer to ship it to someone online or something. You might be able to do that. But, of course, again, this is just what he's wanting to propose.
Yeah.
Zach Young asked, what's your opinion on the gun manufacturers being held responsible or liable for gun shootings?
I think it's wrong. I think it's totally wrong. It's just like taking a Chevy and is involved in a drunk driving incident and suing Chevy. It's stupid.
Yep.
It makes no sense. There's no justice to that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That would be like holding the automobile manufacturer liable for every car crash that a vehicle's involved in, no matter, the person that's driving the vehicle be drunk, on drugs, whatever, just a angry driver,
Right.
You're going to hold Chevy responsible for somebody's road rage?
Now, if Colt went out and on the side they were selling guns to people that did, without an FFL, they were just shipping, selling private guns. Yes, they're reliable. Yes, they're breaking the law.
Yep.
But as long as they're staying within the law, they should not be able to be sued.
No.
It's just, in which I'm sure that's what you agree with that. But, it's just like the people that are fat and they want to sue the company that made the fork. I mean, give me a break. Okay.
It's actually the spork's fault.
The spork is the spork's fault.
Right. That's right.
Again, guys, I want to just mention USCCA. Guys, I'm telling you, if you don't have legal protection, and guys, if you don't go with USCCA, because there are some other good ones out there, check them out. But the main thing is you need to have some kind of legal protection. It's just vital, and it gives you peace of mind. It not only gets you from criminal, they'll actually help you with criminal law or criminal, charges, but also with civil charges.
Where's that edit button?
Where is it? Let's cut that out. But civil. They'll get you out of jail. I mean, there are things like that you need to just consider if you're carrying a firearm. Yes, ma'am.
Dank Memes asks, question, what can we expect to happen with the Ruger Charger 1022 with the SBA 3 brace?
Same thing. It's got a brace on it. It'll be made SPR. You'll have to register that.
Yeah, just like any
firearm with a brace.
Anything that's a shortened rifle into a pistol. Anything's been, this a model of a rifle that's been shortened.
And what that basically means is any firearm, any rifle that has a barrel shorter than 16 inches and a buttstock or brace will be considered a SBR. Or any rifle or pistol with an overall length of less than 26 inches will be considered SBR. Those are all pistols that have a brace on them. All of those will be considered an SBR at that point. And
don't forget, your Glock 19, you're going to have limited mag capacity. And if you have a 15-round mag or you have a 33-round fun stick, that's going to be an NFA item. And you're going to have to register that. You got to pay a tax on it. You got to wait for the ATF to approve you. And they're going to stop the manufacturer, though, also, which is proposed, stop the manufacturer of magazines over a certain amount. And what really gets me is the analogy he uses is, well, duck hunters only get 3 rounds, and we protect our ducks when we do our children. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? We're going to get into 3 rounds? Ooh, I got a Glock 19 with 3 rounds.
Well, we don't have any gun-free zones on the duck fields.
Exactly.
Bob Lautenbach asked, question, thoughts on the AKKAR Churchill 612 gauge?
I'm not familiar. Are you familiar with that?
I've got nothing on that one.
I mean, there's a lot of firearms coming over, and most of them are coming from Turkey. A lot of semi-automatics, a lot of pumps, different guns, and they're actually really well made. Mm-hmm. We've reviewed quite a few, and Turkey's putting out some really good quality products. Yeah. I mean, whether you like the politics or the religion or whatever, I get a lot of heat when I do things from Turkey or whatever.
We'll see how much longer we're able to actually get firearms.
Well, and that's the other thing, guys. This is just this. I mean, they could really put a ban on any kind of importation of any firearms. Doesn't matter what it is.
Rowdy asked, question, are they going to go after military surplus guns with all the crazy stuff they are trying to pass?
I'm sure they'll limit a lot of the importation of that if they can.
That's right.
I mean, and this is all speculation, guys. This is a proposal from Biden. This is his platform. This is what he's wanting to get done.
This is the platform that he's running on.
Right. He is running on this platform. Now, I love what Coney Noir said. He goes, I was sitting there in my basement. He goes, had my plate carrier out. I was loading up my mag pouches and all this stuff. And he said, I just stopped and I went, wait a minute. Biden's not done anything in 47 years. Well, I don't think he's going to do anything for the next 4. But here's the difference. He has a mass network pushing all this. Biden didn't come up with any of this. I can promise you that. He's got people that are working on this, and they have an agenda, and they're going to push it. And your Second Amendment rights are in the crosshairs. Probably more than anything else. They just put this on a certain place in the page.
That's right.
James Strong asks, question, can you be charged right now for an AR pistol, or is it in the future?
No. Now, if you're on purpose, let's say you get an AR pistol, and, they can, if you're shouldering it, because according to the ATF, you're allowed to shoulder it on occasion. There's no, but if you have bought an AR pistol to circumvent the NFA.
That's right. With the intent of using the brace as a stock and not its original intent as a arm brace, then yes, you can be charged.
But that's very vague. It would be very difficult to push and all that. But here's the other thing about the ATF. The ATF typically doesn't go out. Now, Biden's talking about beefing them up to be able to do more of this. But the ATF typically relies on local law enforcement to enforce their laws. So if I'm out at a gun range and I'm shooting, I'm not concerned about an ATF agent coming around and going, hey, you're putting that brace on your arm. But a deputy sheriff that has a kind of a bent mindset could say, oh, because that's happened in Colorado. So,
and then on the flip side of that, as of right now, the BATFE has not issued a ruling that says that bump stocks are an NFA item and you have to register them.
Right.
They have not made that ruling yet. But that ruling was a proposal that was put out, and I guess an email that was sent out to some attorneys and stuff that represent some of the larger firearms manufacturers over the weekend.
Right. So and we need to definitely clarify that. This is your AR-15 pistol, your AR. Yeah,
and I think that's been some of the questions that people have been asking is my AR pistol or my Streetbog pistol with a brace on it illegal right now?
It is not. It is not. It is just like it was. These are what this is the reason why you need to call your congressmen and senators to stop this movement toward making that reality.
That's right.
Because that's what they're doing. It is not. There's nothing changed except the ATF has started saying that that's what their intent is.
Yeah, this is a pending ruling that they are a pending proposal that they're looking at making into a ruling. On the bump stocks, and that's like Don was saying. That's where you need to be calling your senators, calling your congressmen, and saying, "Hey, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with them making an arbitrary ruling on an item that's been legal for almost 10 years." And making that item illegal now, or making that item going to cost me another $200 and have to wait X number of months to be able to legally own it again.
Well, here's the thing: we went out, we bought these things with the, with confidence that this is legal. We can buy it. I bought firearms like that,
and multiple rulings. This isn't, there's been multiple rulings through the Obama administration, through the Trump administration, that these braces are legal. That's the thing. There's been millions of them produced. There's been millions of them sold, and they have been over and over and over, time and time again, deemed to be legal as a brace.
Right.
So, to arbitrarily change that and make this item illegal now is just, it isn't right.
But at this point, they are not. There's no change. There's no legitimate enforcement change.
That's right. And call your senators and congressmen to make sure that it stays that way.
Right.
Nefajita asks, question, what if you pin a flash hider to barrel making the length 16 inches? Would this cause a problem in any way? I'm new to firearms, so if I am off of it, please correct as needed.
Okay. Nope, you're right on the money. And we do that for customers all the time. We'll have someone buy they'll buy an upper or buy a barrel. They do a replacement barrel on their rifle that's 14.5 inches is generally the length most people go with. And they'll send the upper to us, or they'll do it themselves. They'll drill the muzzle brake, and they'll dimple the barrel. They'll put a pin in there and then weld over the top of it. And that's called pinning and welding, which is perfectly legal. Manufacturers do it all the time to bring the legal overall length. And basically what it is, you're permanently attaching that device to the end of your barrel where it can't be easily or readily removed to install another type of device on the barrel. I believe is essentially the definition that the BATFE uses for pinning and welding.
In fact, you've done some of those for me.
We've done a metric ton of them over the years.
Because it just brings it down to actual 16 inches instead of a 16-inch barrel with a 2-inch or 1.5 inch.
Right. That becomes a permanent part of the barrel, which makes it a legal 16 inches, which is a rifle at that point and not a pistol or a short barreled rifle.
Okay. We have one more. You want to go one more question, then we're going to go ahead and kind of wrap up.
Oh, Night Strike 1 says, Such, are you sure this is really Biden's plan, or is it Harris's plan masked as Biden's plan?
Well, I think the thing is, we know Harris is even worse.
Yeah, I think it's one and the same.
Yeah.
You know, if you're sitting there reading that, you're reading it's one and the same, because if you vote for one, you're voting for the other.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to remember. You know, there, go to his campaign website, her campaign website, read through all of these things that they're proposing for the Second Amendment, these restrictions that they're planning on putting in place if they're elected. Read through that, educate yourself, and make a educated decision next Tuesday when it comes time to vote.
So just to have a quick recap, this is the Biden gun safety campaign promises.
Yeah.
And
right off of their campaign, right off of Biden's campaign website, which there's a link in the bottom that you can go to and visit and read yourself.
now this thing with the ATF and the pistol braces, this is not part of Biden's campaign.
Yep.
That is a separate thing that the ATF is actively trying to push. So we need to push back using our congressmen and senators. And there are some congressmen and senators that have been bulldogs going
That's right.
after them.
Yep.
So, you know, there are a lot of them going after them. So we need to help give them confidence.
That's right.
That they're doing the right thing. And so push for that. Okay. So, but the big thing about the Biden deal is that he wants to reinstate an assault weapons ban that's much worse than the original.
Yes.
He wants to stop the manufacture of sporting rifles and standard capacity, but high capacity magazines, stop the complete production of those. And then also to regulate your AR-15 as an SBR, or to regulate it under the NFA.
That's right.
To regulate, so you have to go through your background checks. You have to go through everything you would
Pay a
if you were
$200
buying.
tax stamp per firearm that you already own,
Right.
to be able to continue to own it. Yes.
And that's up to, you know, he may do something a little different because that's not really listed in here. But the thing is, they will make it an NFA item, which you have to register it, and you have to go through all the paperwork, and you have to wait forever. And then, you know, of course, it's on the list. And each magazine that's over a certain limit, which 10 would be the most you can imagine. So anything over that would have to be registered with the ATF, just like a suppressor. And then, of course, the buyback program, stop limiting sales to 1 gun per month, national background check, where it'll even stop personal private sales of guns. You know, the mental restriction thing, which, of course, any of your vets or people that are older that have any kind of issues, you know, end online gun sales, online ammunition, online parts, gun parts sales, everything. And then, of course, the red flag laws are a big thing that he's wanting to push. And then the smart gun mandate, he wants 100% of the guns on the market to be smart guns. Gun storage mandates, to where you can go to jail if you didn't have your guns properly stored. And you know, and then in the ghost guns, the 80% and all that. And that's just, I skipped a few while I was going down through here. So guys, go to that website and just read it. Take time. Don't be lazy. Just read this and then get online and let your congressman or senator know. No, you don't. Well, this is just a proposal. Get out and vote. On the ATF stuff, get that information. Again, go to Tim at Military Arms or go to Jared at Guns and Gadgets, and there will be links. I should have put links down here below to get in touch with your congressmen or senators, but you can do that. You can go to Google and put senators, U.S. senators, and they'll give you a list, and you go down and contact them. And you need to know these things, guys, because this is a battle that has been constant and it will not stop. If Trump gets in office, we're going to probably have some reprieve to a point. If Biden gets in office, this is going to become reality. Unless we flip the House and the Senate stays.
Yeah.
But if we go Democrat, Senate, if they get the majority, if they retain the House and Biden gets in office, and I've said this already, all this is going to come to life. And yeah, 5 years from now, maybe the Supreme Court may go, well, some of that's not, but what's going to happen to all your stuff? It's going to be gone. So guys, this is not, this is taking away our freedoms. This is taking away our ability to be who we've traditionally been.
That's right. And
it goes against the Constitution, and it goes against everything we believe in. So it's time to make a choice.
And for those of you in South Carolina, remember next Tuesday, Dr. Bill Bledsoe is not running for the Senate any longer. He dropped out on October the 1st. So please do not vote for him. There's a lot of videos out there right now saying, hey, vote for Dr. Bill Bledsoe, or, you know, he's very conservative. Don't vote for him, trying to split the vote in South Carolina and take conservative votes away from Lindsey Graham. Do not vote for Dr. Bill Bledsoe because he is not running any longer, and came out on October the 1st in the state newspaper in Columbia in support of Lindsey Graham. So just keep that in mind, you guys, when you go out and vote next Tuesday, that Dr. Bill Bledsoe is not running any longer.
And guys, there's a lot of people, especially here in South Carolina. I know I'm not talking to the majority of you, but guys, Lindsey Graham has had his demons, and he's done some things that I personally don't agree with. But one thing he's always been is strong on the Second Amendment.
He absolutely
and
has.
Honestly, when Sandy Hook happened, his testimony was huge in saving us with our assault, keeping us from an assault weapons ban.
That's right.
So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and get things signed down and calm down, and we'll probably have a couple of drinks of whiskey or something. But guys, we really appreciate you being here. Get this information out. Go to the website. Check it out. Again, if you don't have legal protection, USCCA, more than ever, you need that protection.
1 week until we vote. Make sure you
1
educate
week
yourself.
until we vote. I want to thank Sarah Mack for being over on the computer, monitoring questions. We really appreciate Robbie Wheaton for being here again at WheatonArms.com. And again, if you want to have some really nice custom gun work done, he is just incredible. Plus, Glock upgrades, triggers, barrels, guide rods, all kind of different Glock parts. And they do just a fantastic job. So thanks again. Be strong. Be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.